participating actively in the concert.
Okay, it's already 18 minutes after the hour, and I'm not sure from our gallery view how many we have. 12 participants. It looks like most everyone's here. Why don't we get started? Is everybody ready? Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. It is the 28th of June and our last meeting for the month, and my last meeting to be your president for 21-22. It's been a wonderful year, and I'm very grateful for all the support that I've had from all of you, and the fact that you all show up in person once a month and online like we are today. To start off, I'm looking to see if we have a few visitors today. Maria Teresa had told me we will be expecting a few. So I see, Joe, are you new to our club?
Hi, yeah, this is my first time. So I've come along to see what happens. Thank you very much.
We have a business section where I'm going to talk about the business, and then I'm going to ask our newcomers today just to introduce yourself and tell us how you found out about Toastmasters. So we'll come to that section in just about 2-3 minutes. I just want to go through our business section very quick because it's part of our protocol at our meetings. We meet, as you know, most of you, those that don't, we meet twice a month. It's the second and fourth Tuesday. The first Tuesday we meet in person in the VIC. Luckily, we still have the room on A0671. And online, the second, which is actually the fourth Tuesday of the month. We are privileged to find out some information about Toastmasters International, and I just got hot off the presses that there's going to be a Toastmasters convention that you all are welcome to join. It takes place, believe it or not, in the USA in Nashville, Tennessee. It's between the 17th and 20th of August, and there's more information and registration to be found in a link which is the toastmasters.org, but we could send that out to you all if you're interested. So that's something coming up in August to look out for. Then just so you know, there's a special award that's called Distinguished Club. And we are 1 point away from this. We need 5 points. So what will push us over the top? You know this. The best is that if our members go through the levels of their pathways. So we have Maria Teresa, who's about to almost complete level 2, or I think she did complete level 2. She completed the persuasive influence pathway. So congratulations to Maria Teresa completing level 2. I just awarded her last week with her certificate online. Then Nicole is going to complete today level 5, presentation mastery. That will be the point that we need to be a distinguished club. And I myself am doing my last speech today as your president, and I'll have completed level 3 of dynamic leadership, but we may wait to put that in because it's not going to make it anyway. So that's the information that I have about what's going on with Toastmasters officially. And now just to find out about our members today, it looks like we have a nice group, 14 of us are present today. And I'd like to call upon the few visitors that we do have, and I'd like to just have everyone else mute your microphones, please. I hear some background music. Rena, maybe you could mute yourself. And let's see who else is unmuted. That looks like it for now. And I'd like to hand over the speaker. If you unmute yourself, Joe, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, thank you very much. Yeah, so my name's Joe, I'm from the UK. I joined the agency in November 2017 in the English translation section. So I've been here about 5.5 years now. I now work in the publishing section. And I came here today because I'm part of the IAEA mentorship scheme. And I was discussing with my mentor how to develop leadership skills and also mainly public speaking skills, because a lot of people find it very nerve-wracking, myself included. And I wanted to find ways to actually have the practice to help to sort of overcome that and for it not to be a sort of issue and something that I can just, a skill that I have now. So that's why I'm here. And thank you very much for having me. Let me know if there's something else that you'd like to know.
No, thank you, Joe. That's perfect. We're very glad to see you and to welcome you to our club. Please feel free to come in person on Tuesday, which would be, if I look at the 12th of July in person. I will no longer be your president. And on that note, I'm going to not only introduce your new president for 22-23, our Toastmaster, Sila. I'm going to ask her to take over the control of the meeting as the Toastmaster of the day. Sila, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Melanie, and nice meeting you all. Thank you so much also for your vote. Last time the meeting, I unfortunately could not participate in person, but I hope that you get the message that I deliver through the video message, and I will try my very best to deliver my promise for the coming year. So thanks, Melanie, for the introduction. And without further ado, I just want to also introduce a bit of my role as the Toastmaster of the day, whereby basically is to sort of make sure that we have a smooth meeting and all roles that are sort of assigned would be filled, so that everyone has a task to do to make sure the smooth running of the meeting. And on that note, I can see that today we actually have most of the rows filled, apart from the ballot counter that Monica is supposed to take up, and unfortunately she cannot be with us today. But on that note, I wonder if anyone would like to volunteer as the ballot counter.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate that I do it, because I don't know if the chat function works anyhow. So you can send all your votes to me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Libby. And the role of the ballot counter is basically we would have by the time we have the table topic section, we would vote for the best table topic speakers, and that's why we would need a ballot counter to count the vote from our members. And I can also see that today we actually have a meeting theme, which is the National Eat at a Food Truck Day. And there is the word of the day, the Pandora's box. So I guess I don't know what actually the food truck day is, but I guess we'll figure it out as we go along the meeting. And the word of the day is like we would pass it on to the grammarian, who basically then count out the one who has, say the word of the day. And so without further ado, actually, I just wanted to pass the floor to our general evaluator, Maria Teresa, which would give us, to introduce all the evaluators for the day. Maria Teresa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. Fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guest Joe, it's lovely to have you all here today. The first order of business for me is to introduce our grammarian, who will give us a little bit of an explanation of what her role is, and she will also present the word of the day. It's my great pleasure to introduce one of the most dedicated members of our club, our incoming membership vice president, Toastmaster Inez.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. As a grammarian, I will observe the appropriate use of the English language, the use of words, expressions, etc., which are also keeping me thinking about many things, sorry. Sorry. At the same time, I will also look at the creativity in the language use, and especially the issues which are linked to the grammar. As the word of the day, I have chosen Pandora's box. We have these days a lot of Pandora's boxes, not only one. If we would explain what it is, I would say it is a source of expensive but unforeseen problems, if you wish, or even lots of surprises. And with that, I hand over control of the meeting back to Maria Teresa as the general evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ines. Pandora's box, what a fascinating idea. What are we opening up? What kettle of worms? We'll get to that a lot later, but now I return control of the meeting. You only will hear from me then in the general evaluation section. I return control of the meeting to our Toastmaster of the day and President-elect Toastmaster Silla.
Thank you very much, Maria Teresa. So for the meantime, I sort of look it up for the National Day of the Food Truck Day. I think this is basically a North American tradition. And so, you know, coming to the club and also learning a bit of the North American tradition would be really interesting, whereby it's on the 24th of June is a day to get out and show some love for the hardworking entrepreneurs cooking up the nation's tastiest, most innovative food. I guess, yeah, having this meeting before lunchtime, you know, that also sets us into thinking about new menu for our cafeteria. Maybe, you know, we can give them some love for those hardworking colleagues working there as well. And so there are two parts for the meeting, and we are now entering into the first part, which is the prepared speech. Today, we are very lucky to have two very experienced speakers. First one being Nicole, the second one being Melanie, deliver their prepared speech. And on an interesting note also for Nicole, we actually have the first evaluator, which is Benjamin, would be giving an evaluation for Nicole. The interesting point is actually Benjamin is Nicole's mentee. So, you know, having a mentee giving the evaluation for his mentor. I mean, I guess this is the club's first time ever. So we're really looking forward to that. And with that, I will give the floor now to Benjamin to sort of explain a bit, you know, the objective and for Nicole's speech. Benjamin, please.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Silla. Yes, I'm very excited about evaluating my mentor, and I will start just by reading the purpose statements of Nicole's speech today. The purpose of this project is for the member to reflect for Nicole, to reflect on her growth during the completion of an entire path. As Melanie said, it's the last speech of level 5. And the purpose of Nicole's speech is to share some aspects of her growth during the completion of her path. I'll be giving an evaluation of her speech for a maximum of 3 minutes. Thank you, Toastmaster Silla. I give you back the control of the meeting.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. And so we would really love to know more about what Nicole would want to tell us about Toastmasters and beyond. Toastmaster and beyond, Nicole.
Before I start my speech,
Nicole, give me the timing. The
timing is 10 minutes and up to 12 minutes. 12 minutes is like the 7:30 for a normal speech. But before I give my speech, the first time I'm standing up, Toastmaster, and I would like to make sure that you can hear me, or whether I have to turn my speakers on. So, okay? All right then. Today, I'm giving my last speech on the 5th level of my path in Pathways, the first one called Presentation Mastery. And I would like to take the opportunity to reflect on that particular path, but also on my path in general in Toastmasters. And to see why Toastmasters, but most importantly, why Toastmasters and beyond. I joined Toastmasters some 11 years ago. In those days, I was like a lot of others in the old system, which means that I had to go through two main manuals. The first one was the Competent Communication Manual, and the second one was the Competent Communication Manual, and the second one was the Competent Leadership Manual. It took me 4 years to go through those two manuals because I had retired. I wanted to take it easy, no stress. But I was learning to speak more efficiently in public. And after that, I decided to go even further, and I started on the advanced communication series. One of them was speaking to inform, a few projects in there. And another one was specialty speeches, for instance, introducing a speaker or selling a product, kind of things. That's called specialty speeches. I was doing quite well. I was feeling quite comfortable. And that's when Toastmasters International decided to introduce the new system, Pathways. I'll be very honest with you. I was not enthusiastic at all about Pathways. I even didn't like it. And I went even further than that. I considered quitting Toastmasters altogether. Why? For two reasons. The first reason was that I had the feeling I was really progressing in the old system and I was learning a lot. And I didn't see why I should start in something totally new. I was feeling well in my old shoes, in other words. The second reason, most importantly, was that the new system didn't take into consideration what we had done in the old system. We had to start from scratch again. I even had to give my icebreaker speech after, I don't know, 6, 7 years. Not that I want to do that. I'm not interested. I'm really not interested. And the only reason why I stayed in Toastmasters, excuse me, is that I took Toastmasters as an end in itself. I like the club. I like the people I was meeting there. I like listening to really nice speeches. I evaluated and helped from time to time. And also it was an opportunity for me to practice my English, something I didn't have that many opportunities to do outside since I left the UN. It took me a good 2 years to come back into the system and to tell myself, okay, I'm going to try that pathway business. And I'm going to take a path in Pathways. But why presentation mastery, which was basically what I had done in the old system? Well, for two reasons. I didn't want to do any planning and I didn't want to do any leadership. That I'd done in my career and that was over for me. You know, I don't even try to lead in my own family, so forget about leading anywhere else, you know. And as far as planning, I plan my own business and that's enough. But then presentation mastery, I thought could be interesting. Why? I'll tell you why. After I retired, I embarked onto a number of projects, and 2 of them had something to do with Toastmasters. I started really studying Viennese history and consequently the history of Austria. I read a lot of books, attended a number of workshops, and then first thing I did is I joined an international organization called Greeters International, an international organization of free volunteer guides. What we do is we take tourists, very small groups, up to 6 people, not more, we're not allowed more, and we show them the city we live in, but from another perspective than what the professional guides do. We tell them a little bit about the history, a little about the different points of interest, and we ask them what their interests are. Every time we get a different audience. People come from South America, North America, Asia, Europe, you name it. Some of them know Vienna a little bit. Most of them don't know anything about Vienna and Austria. So we've got to find out what their interests are. We've got to take our audience into consideration. And once we've done that, we've got to get them interested and we've got to keep them interested, not for 10 or 20 minutes, for 2 hours, 3 hours, up to 4 hours, sometimes a whole day for some of us. I didn't try that. And that's a bit of a challenge. Besides, we have to establish a physical contact with them. We have to look at them and not at the monuments we might be explaining. We have to smile. We have to be enthusiastic. Otherwise, it doesn't work. We lose our audience very quickly. So that was the first project. The second project, based also on the history of Vienna, was that I started with a small group of friends to put on shows, little plays. One of the play was on literary cafes in Vienna, another one on palaces on the Ring, and another one was on the Habsburg family. My role was not to act. My role was to write the scripts. I became a script writer, so to speak. But then I had to present my script and I had to get feedback from my friends, actors. And the feedback was not always positive. Sometimes it was tyrannical. Yeah, on paper it works, but on stage it's not going to work. Or, you're going into too much detail. People are interested, but not that interested. I had to get that feedback into consideration. I had to cooperate with them. We had to take our decisions on consensus. Otherwise, it did not work. So what was there in Pathways mastering, presentation mastering, that could help me? Don't panic. I'm not going to go through all the projects in that 5th level, and not even in the whole pathway. I would like to concentrate on a few of them. And I put them down to make sure that I say it correctly. Researching and presenting. Well, that was exactly what I was doing for my script writing. And I really appreciated your feedback on that project. The second one was telling a story. Because when you take a group of tourists and you have small kids, the only way you're going to keep them interested is by telling them stories, about the basilisk, about the devil in Saint Stephen, and you give them, little quizzes that they have to answer. That's the way you keep them interested. And then the other project was managing a difficult audience. Well, tell me about teenagers in a group where the only reason why they're there is because their parents want them to be there. They can't care less. They would like to be somewhere else. It's a pretty difficult audience, believe me. And you've got to find ways of getting them interested one way or the other. And you've got to find a balance between the parents and the teenagers. So I try to practice that in Toastmasters. And finally, the one I wanted to choose from the list, which was important to me because it's all my goals in a nutshell, it is called the high performance leadership. That's where I organized a number of workshops, 2 of them actually, on evaluation. Why is it all of my goals in a nutshell? I had to research. I had to go into archives for evaluations. I had to find videos to show you those videos in the workshops. I had to be sure the audience was with me. I had to look at them, all the things that I had to practice. And then I had to have a team behind me. And for instance, Maria Teresa was responsible for spreading the news, and Benjamin, my mentee, was responsible to help me with the videos. He was in charge of the videos so that I could concentrate on the audience. Without that team, I couldn't have pulled it through. They were really necessary. We had to cooperate, we had to work together, and there had to be a consensus. What did I get then from this Pathways experience? Well, first of all, a big frustration. Why? Because of Zoom. You see, I had to do all my projects on Zoom, which means that I cannot really connect with you people that well because there's a screen between you and me. There's a camera between you and me. Some of you have to switch off their camera or can't switch it on. Others choose to switch off their cameras. But then it's very difficult for the speaker to connect because we don't see the reaction. We don't see whether you're interested. We don't see whether you're smiling or not. There's no connection at all. But okay, the pandemics, all I can hope is that we can meet more often in persona in the future. What I got from the pathway, from that particular pathway, is also that it made me learn to really cooperate, which is important not only in my external life, but also in the executive committee, where all the decisions have got to be taken on consensus if they're going to be useful or work. So, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, you see, I went from learning to speak more efficiently in public in the old system to trying to master the art of guiding a group of people and also the art of writing a script. I went from deciding almost to quit and then to take Toastmasters as an end in itself and not more, to taking Toastmasters as a means to an end. And that is going beyond Toastmasters. And I think that is the best way to take something out of Toastmasters, to go beyond Toastmasters. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. Oops.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And I guess like we are all inspired by your sharing of, the interesting life after leaving the UN as well. Life can be so exciting and interesting with all the different projects that you are doing. So 1 minute of silence whereby we can give some written comment to Nicole. You can use the chat function to send the message to Nicole.
Actually, in chat, we cannot send to Nicole. We can only send to everyone or to Lily.
Yes, thanks for the clarification. So
You can send it to me and I'll forward it. Sorry about that. I can't change the settings. I don't know what the issue is. So I am a value to ballot host Lily. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lily. And I hope that Rina is also keeping time for the 1 minute. Thanks.
One minute is over.
Thank you so much. Yeah, got it. Yes. And now, since we have a full program today, we want to make sure that we give all the time and attention, to our speakers. So now we would be moving on to the second prepared speech of the day, whereby Melanie would be sharing with us, also her growing from facing new challenges. Unfortunately, in the program, we don't seem to have a second evaluator for this, but I would give the suggestion.
Lily is my evaluator. Lily's taken up the role.
Lily is the evaluator. Okay. Yep. So if Lily is the evaluator for Melanie's speech, then I would pass the floor now to Lily to brief us a little bit of the objective of Melanie's speech. Lily, please.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. For Melanie's speech, the purpose, it's 5 to 7 minutes. The purpose of this project is for Melanie to learn about different types of negotiation and strategies that can be used when negotiating. The purpose of this speech is for Melanie to share some aspects of a past or future negotiation in her life. Yeah, thank you very much.
And yes, for Melanie's speech, that would last 5 to 7 minutes. That's the normal duration of the speech. So without further ado, I'll now give the floor to Melanie, growing from facing new challenges. Melanie.
We don't grow when things are easy. We grow when we face challenges. My fellow Toastmasters, my one honored guest here today. My focus of this speech today is to give you a little bit of a background about negotiating. Negotiating for the best outcome. Why do we negotiate? Well, there's many areas in our life that are both professional and personal where negotiation takes a big role. So after reading all the information that Pathways offered me, I broke it down into 3 areas. Of course, wanting to know the style you should use, the type of outcome that you're probably going to get, and just some personal tips. So let me start out with just some reasons why we need to negotiate in life. Well, it's just a common courtesy that we want to reach an agreement and satisfy all the parties that are involved. We have to remember that we're dealing with professional and personal issues, and we want to build and maintain these important relationships in our life. So how do we begin? We begin by being prepared. You have to have a clear position on what you want and really know your goal. Build a common ground with your style, with the type of outcome you're looking for, and of course, maintain a professional composure through everything. You want to try to foster an agreement between all parties. So let me talk about the 3 different ways that you can look at negotiation. Number 1, you have to know your style. And Pathways tells us that there's 4 different styles out there. See which one fits you best. The first and the most obvious is the competitive style. So it's a win or a lose. And it tends to be a bit aggressive, if you agree with me, because you're looking to persuade or convince someone to see things your way. The next could be accommodating. Accommodating is where you put the relationship that you have with this other party first, but you tend to put them somehow before your own objective. So then we come to the third, which would be a compromise. A compromise is when you meet each other halfway and you work together. But the last and 4th area that Toastmasters tells us that we can use as a style is actually my favorite, and that's collaborative. Collaborative is when you brainstorm together, when you develop and you maintain that relationship, and there's a mutual respect. So what could be the outcomes? Part 2. The outcomes, win-win, what we're all looking for in life, right? Both sides are in a better position after, and it's very ideal. But it doesn't always happen that it's a win-win. Sometimes, unfortunately, win and lose. One party wins at the other's expense, and it's not so ideal, is it? Then there's always the compromise. An agreement is reached between both of the parties, but there's a concession always made on each side. So it's not always satisfactory. So the tips that they give us when you go through this entire platform in the pathway is you have to start out with setting the tone. Disclose information and make sure you create a positive atmosphere for you and the other party. Stay objective, professional, and calm. You want to take a break sometimes and stop and sometimes just collect your thoughts and always maintain your composure. Take the emotion out of it. Sometimes we tend to be very emotionally driven when there's something we're really adamant about getting. And try to use those I statements. I appreciate it when you give me your guidance or support on this issue. And most of all, always stay genuine and authentic. My favorite words. Show your appreciation. So now let me give you an example when I had to actually negotiate something that's very, very personal to me. You know, we're all looking in life to live up to our full potential. And so let me create the scenario for you and set the scene. I work at the IAEA now for over 19 years. And as much as I love my job, I'm always looking for challenges, growth. And I've been applying for a lot of positions. But then I realized to maybe reach my full potential, I may have to leave the IAEA. So I decided to start doing some research, the research that was needed. What other UN organizations could I apply to? And I thought about the factors. So what would be close to Vienna? Well, Rome is another airport away from us, an hour flight. Geneva, also maybe 1.5 hour flight. And I realized that being in the UN system, I'd have all of my benefits and entitlements to keep with me. I would keep the UN pension going, which is a big bonus after contributing for 19 years. The insurance that I have through this wonderful Cigna. And the IAEA actually allows me to take special leave without pay for 1, even up to 2 years, which is unbelievable. So if I didn't like the position, I would always be welcome to come back to my position I have now at the IAEA. So how did I present this to my husband? Well, this is where the negotiation came in. we sat down together and I discussed with him just about growth and life and our journeys. And he has his own business. It's a family-run business, so he understands that he's at the top already, and that he knows that I'm always hungry for learning new things. I let him know both of our children are grown. We have a 20-year-old and a 23-year-old. That we could probably have weekends together. I would fly home at least twice a month, and he could come and see me once a month. And that sometimes that absence makes the heart grow fonder. So after this discussion that we had, he's actually more positive about me trying this new adventure. It still hasn't come through yet, but the negotiation was there, and we are both on the same page, and we've made this compromise together. I'm just waiting for the offer from the UN. So my message to you all is very simple, that you're not going to grow when things are easy in life. If you want to grow, you have to face these challenges. Look at them as opportunities to be able to get out there, apply for new jobs, and negotiate with your loved ones that they have your support. I hand the floor back over to the Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much, Melanie, for sharing with us a very personal and also challenging negotiation time that you had, but you got it. So yeah, and 1 minute of silence now also for some written comment for Melanie's speech and sharing.
One minute is over.
Thank you so much, Rina. And so after the prepared speech, we would have the second part of the meeting whereby the members would be presented with the possibility of giving an impromptu speech. And for this section is the table topic session. And we are very happy today that we have our member Julia, who will be in charge of this particular session. Julia has joined us for a few weeks, and she has always been very dedicated and also, showing a lot of interest in the club. So we're now very happy to, pass this particular sessions to Julia.
Thank you very much, Sila. Dear Toastmasters, this is my debut actually, and this is your evaluation highly important for me. It's just first my prepared talk in kind of table topic master in this club. So let me to move to this topic. Actually, Sila mentioned this topic. This is about street food. We know from hot dogs carts to ice cream trucks. A world is no stranger to street food. It's emotional, cultural. Street food accompanies us during our first dating, our first job, our first travel. It has a smell of childhood, vacation, independence. Birthdays, many countries celebrate National Eat at a Food Truck Day. This is an opportunity to support small businesses. We can say thank you to workers who get up early, stay out late, so that we never have to eat a boring meal again. Highly popular these days, food trucks started many years ago, but now chefs around the world followed suit and hit the road with their own mobile kitchen, serving up creative, delicious, and downright strange creation to the masses. Food trucks, the street food restaurants, are getting prestigious Michelin stars around the globe. If those street food are good enough for the Michelin guide, it's good enough for us. Dear Sila, what do you think? If those street food are good enough for the Michelin guide, it's good enough for you?
So this is the question for me, right, Julia? Just to confirm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
So, if your street food are good enough for the Michelin guide, it's good enough for you?
If the street food is good enough for Michelin guide, is it good enough for me?
Yeah.
Coming from Hong Kong, I mean, street food is what we have all the time. Back then, when I was growing up, there was no such thing as the Michelin guide to follow. Basically, you just follow your family and friends, and actually also observation, your eyes. Most of us, we only go to one where you find lots of people. You know, if that's the one, you know, that attract a lot of crowd, that's where you should go. Not only because we love to be with the other people, but that's a very important guide. You never want to go to a restaurant where there is hardly anyone inside. So we don't really need the Michelin guide. But I guess what is really important for me is what Julia have mentioned. It's the street food is this connection with your city, with the people that you grew up, and with a lot of childhood memories. And I think people say that, you know, you can move around, you can move to different cities and get different culture, get to know, speak different languages. But for taste, we actually keep our very first childhood taste. That will follow with us and for the rest of our life. And I guess that's what really street food is important for me, is the taste and the memory. And it's this that will stay with me no matter where I go. Thank you so much.
Dear Sila, thank you so much for sharing your experience. Yes, for example, if we look at the window, now we are in summer, and street food from local producers is small businesses waiting for us, for example, on the beach. However, it's very difficult to conduct checks on hygiene at all street food making places. This is like been also in a lot of time in use, with very improper hygiene conditions. And some countries plan to ban even street food, like in Vienna, they discussed it last year. Should street food be banned? Benjamin, it's a question to you. What do you think? Should street food be banned? I don't know. Benjamin
Yeah.
is here. Sorry.
Thank you. I would personally think that street food should not be banned, but my answer will be a bit subjective in the sense that my father had a food truck a few years ago. And it was a great adventure for him, who used to be a commercial or a businessman in a telecommunication company in France. And he decided to take a year off to go in the street and make some burgers in the main business centers in France. And I remember from his experience and from what he was saying, that being in touch with the people in the street and seeing people happy of having this food fast and good was a great value for the people buying the food, but also for him. My answer would be don't ban street food. It's important. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your experience. Before I was preparing this topic, and I think maybe it's too simple, but now we are discovering in talk of Sila and Benjamin what it's actually like in part of our life from childhood to present time, and it's very linked to our families. So it's considered, but if street food is banned, the unemployment problem can be in many countries. It can be even worse, because many street vendors cannot afford a shop to start their business or restaurant, because there is long process you need to do that, and you not an investment. But for opening the street food, there is no long processes to start and earn for living. It's very easy for anyone to start selling street food. But what skills do we need to start a street food business? Please, can I address this question to Alma? In your opinion, what skills are needed to start a street food business?
Thank you, Julia, for this question. If someone can count my arms, which I already had 2 so far, so you see, since I'm a counter this time, but what skills? I think it's important to have people skills. So I think actually, if you want to start selling the street food, you should also join Toastmasters, because you want to you want to work with people, you want to talk to people, because basically this is how you will sell your product. You have to have a nice marketing campaign. You have to be in a good location, because this is actually, with the street food, this is the most important, the location, and also that your food is good quality. And as Sila mentioned, that hygiene, or you mentioned actually in your one of the introduction, that the hygiene is on a good level. And actually what Sila mentioned is where there is a lot of people, this is where you go. So this is exactly how I'm also shopping for the food. Just recently and this weekend we had Donauinselfest, and we had a lot of food trucks and a lot of places where you can buy langos, which is one of my favorite dish, even if I'm not Hungarian. I know it's originally from Hungary, but in Bosnia we have a similar dish. So basically we connect again to the childhood. It reminds me to the childhood, how my mom prepared it. So where did I buy a langos? Where was the biggest crowd? And they had also nice marketing campaigns saying that this is a original handmade from Hungary. So this is how I decided. I think my time is up. I don't see Rina, and I think we should pin Rina when we have table topics, because that's my experience from being a timekeeper my last time online. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Alma. Thank you for sharing your experience. I also fan of langos, even I'm not Hungarian. And this is really lovely food on the street, what I'm always taking on the beach. And this is highly important point you mentioned about Toastmaster. My boss asked me what I would like to do after agency, and told I'm professional hydrologist, but I will go in real estate. And she told me no, but I told yes, that is why I'm in Toastmaster. That is why Toastmaster actually improving the skills.
Yes. We can use it in many, not only for public speaking.
Yes, so now I think maybe to go in real estate. Why to?
Yeah, or a food truck.
Thank you. This is a very important point. And also, it was mentioned what street food is satisfying the hunger of many common people. Food in most restaurants is not affordable to many. For many middle-class people, eating a street food cart is very cheap and convenient. But what about balancing between quality and value for money? Nicole, can I ask you, in your opinion, what is more important, quality or value for money in food?
You mean in general, or you're talking about street food?
Street food.
So can you ask the question again? What is
more important, value for money or quality for you?
Thank you. Like many of you, many expatriates, I lived in different countries. I lived in countries where there were not really anything on the street. And I lived in countries like Thailand, where you have a lot of street food. But for me, quality is important for a simple reason. I lived in New York, where there was, at the time, there was not really anything on the street. I remember going, excuse me, Silla, I remember going to Chinatown with my parents. And my parents told me, my father told me, you don't expect me to eat there, do you? I mean, with the garbage cans outside and with the smell, I'm not eating in any of those restaurants. And he didn't mind eating in Thailand from some of the street food merchants, vendors, where you had everything which was really cooked on fire, you know, and that will kill all the bacteria. So it all depends what you mean with street food. Here in Vienna, we have, for instance, vendors who sell coffee and who sell little cakes. Well, that's fine because, well, of course, you don't know where the cakes were produced, but you don't know that when you go to a restaurant, and sometimes you would be surprised. So that's fine. But then when it comes to things which are more difficult to cook, or then quality for me comes into the picture. And I would rather go, be it a restaurant or be it street food, I would go more for quality than for cheapness. Because after all, there's a Pandora box in there and you never know what's in the Pandora box. Back to you, Madam Topic Master.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience with the fire food. This is really like challenging for many countries if we go and our stomach is not prepared to bacteria in the local scale. But okay, but anyway, the liveliness of street food makes us streets vibrant, yes, and daily routines colorful. It catches the attention of viewers from every social classes with break down barriers. Additionally, the street food industry protects traditional recipes. It was mentioned by all speech today. What runs through ancestral lines from heritage, from parents, from cultural. But what is the best thing about street food culture for you? I would like to ask Jo if she would like to answer this question, if she's ready. But if not, it can be readdressed. Jo, what do you think? What is the best thing about the street food culture for you?
The culture of street food. For me, I think street food, I always think of as you'll get it where there's something else going on. There's like a market, there's entertainment, there's a lot of atmosphere. And so, sorry, could you repeat the question again?
What is the best thing about the street food culture for you?
I think for me, the culture of street food, there's a very kind of like sharing element. Someone has already said about you need to be able to interact with your customers, but it's more than that. I sort of, when I picture street food, I picture a lot of people gathered, standing around, chatting. You can comment on what you eat. It's an opportunity to try something that you wouldn't normally perhaps try because it's just there on the streets. So if you're hungry, you will pick something up. And I think it's, yeah, the opportunity to try things and to bring certain food, like someone, I would imagine it's quite an entrepreneurial thing to do, to bring your street food to an audience. And if someone's got that passion to share with somebody else, then to be a receiver of that is quite important. And street food allows us to do that through flavor. Back to you. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you so much for your also debut as mine today. Thank you for sharing this experience. And I don't know if I have time for the last question. And yeah, okay, thank you. Because I have the last important question to address to participants today, because we know what street food is expanding together with urbanization. And it's actually using a lot of non-biodegradable plastic packaging for the sale, and what can have negative consequences for the environment. So globally, the street food sector is not regulated in terms of the packaging, in terms of the waste production. Please, can I address this question to Ines? Can we make a street food sector greener?
Thank you, Julia. Thank you very much. Great topic. I think that especially in developing countries, street food can really contribute to the sustainability of the environment. We are not even thinking of plastic. We're not even thinking of paper. You would not believe it. When you are talking about street food, for me, it is happiness, it is emotions, it has to do with trust, it has to do with creativity, and it really opens up a lot of new issues inside my stomach. And you would not believe it. I remember that I was in Nicaragua once, and I was on a mission, and I was very hungry, and I really wanted to have the local food and not to go to some kind of a fancy restaurant. So I went to some kind of a streetcar where women, Nicaraguan women, were serving local food, and the local food was actually not on paper, not with paper decorated and with fancy glasses. You only had the coconut, the real coconut, with some kind of a straw. Yes, the straw was plastic, but it was washed again. You would not believe it, and we did not get sick. And on top of that, we got the rice and the food, which is actually, that was baked fish or fried fish, we got it in banana leaves. So a tip to the developed countries. Let's see if we can somehow also try with creativity to bring in also the biodegradable material to help us to enjoy the food, to trust that we will really love what we're eating, and that we also have a thriving business where culture is also being presented to us. And with that, I hand over control of the meeting to the table topics master, Julia.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I would like to thank everyone who shared own experience. And for me, it was not easy task because it's first time, first time you mentioned in your talk, personal talks first today in our meeting by Nicole and Melanie. And for me, it was my starting in Toastmasters, actually. So thank you very much. And I would like to thank especially Maria Teresa for inspiring me. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot, Julia. And I guess that would be the tip for us for next meeting. We should at least have a bit of street food before joining the meeting. Otherwise, we all get really hungry while listening to all these speeches. Thanks a lot for your debut. And we would now move on to the evaluation part of the meeting, whereby the evaluator for the two speakers will share with us, the evaluation report. And so first we'll pass the floor now to Benjamin, who would be sharing with us.
Sila, we have to vote for the best table topics.
Yes. So the table topic speakers, we have, it was me, Benjamin, who
Alma, Nicole, Joe, and Ines. I repeat, Sila, Ben, Alma, Nicole, Joe, and Ines. And Sila, actually, you should be returning control to me as the general evaluator.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. So
no
yes.
need to apologize.
Okay. So yes, now I can, we vote for the table topic speaker first, or now is passing on to you?
I think people can do that as we're conducting the evaluation section. And I'm going to be leading you through the evaluation section, but it's not about me. I have a very competent, capable team who has been keeping track of what's going on in the meeting. The first point of order is to ask the evaluator for Nicole's speech for his evaluation. It's quite unusual to have a mentee evaluating a mentor. I don't see this as a challenge, but as an opportunity. Toastmaster Ben, how are you going to deal with this?
Toastmaster Maria Teresa, thank you very much. I feel honored and clearly challenged. Dear Nicole, thank you very much for this very inspiring speech, especially because I think now I get to know which pathway I'd like to choose. I was also personally quite overwhelmed when I arrived on pathway, seeing all those choices. It was very interesting to know why you chose this pathway. I would like to give 3 points of evaluation. The first ones would be on the organization of your speech, the second one on the delivery, and lastly, I'll go over the attainment of your pathway purpose. First, about the organization of the speech, I really appreciated the organization, the chronological organization you chose from your very early days in Toastmaster to the very end where you are now as a guide and a script writer for shows. I really appreciated also the parallels you made in the conclusion. I think the two sentences were roughly from learning in Toastmaster to the art of guiding people and to writing scripts, and secondly, making the parallel from about to quit Toastmaster to seeing Toastmaster as a mean to go beyond. Really enjoyed those parallels. I think you also did quite good parallels in the conclusion, or like recalling in the conclusion some elements of the introduction as the moment where you were about to quit Toastmaster. One slight negative point I would see, or was maybe something that I missed in there, was a bang introduction, if I can call it like that, and a bang conclusion. I think that's it for the organization. I'll go now for the delivery. Thank you for standing up. I think it's a very good attitude to stand up, even though we're in front of the screen. It's changing a lot. I really appreciated also your hand gesture, a bit approximative to me at the beginning, but then it was very good, especially when you were talking about the groups you're guiding and you were pointing us, or pointing the computer you have in front of you. And about delivery, I really appreciated your tone also. I think when you were talking about the telling stories when you're a guide, and you talked about the children that you have to give to tell stories to those children, you adopted kind of a child tone, and it was very interesting. And also when you talk about the challenge of getting the interest of teenagers, you had more parent tone of really appreciated those tones changes. Lastly, the attainment of the purpose. Well, I think you really replied very well to the question, what did Toastmaster bring to you? And again, I said it in the beginning, but putting your objectives, your life objectives, against the pathway choices you had was very, very interesting and inspiring. One point on the attainment of purpose, you said that what did you get from Toastmaster? You said first frustration because of Zoom. And I thought it would have been amazing to have your speech in person. So maybe one of those days we'll have another speech. Anyway, I'll end my evaluation by telling you, bravo, you did achieve your goals. I'm convinced you're a good guide, and you know how to trigger interest of teenagers. And maybe only one question remains: what's next in your Toastmaster career?
Thank you, Toastmaster Ben. You were up to the challenge, and I like the way that you challenged Nicole to what she's doing next. The next part of our program is the evaluator for the prepared speech of our current president, Toastmaster Melanie. I'm going to introduce you to Lily, who has been a Toastmaster for several years, not to be underestimated. She also always gives a very fair and balanced evaluation. So what do we have to hear today from Toastmaster Lily?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Melanie's speech on growing from facing new challenges. I have to be very careful that I don't open a Pandora's box here, because I almost fear that I have an unconscious bias. When I think of the areas that I am asked to evaluate, I want to give her a 5 for everything about the qualities of her presentation. Clarity. She was always very lively and clear, and vocal variety. I was interested in the content, and vocal variety was just so secondary because everything that Melanie was saying was fascinating and interesting to me. Melanie had very, very good eye contact, was looking directly into the camera. There is one section on the evaluation sheet which challenged me at the beginning. It's the third part about the general comments where I'm asked, where can I ask Melanie to challenge herself? And I did notice occasionally you look down at your notes. So I would say, Melanie, one way you can even notch up your quality even further, focus on the main point a little bit earlier in your speech and don't look at your notes. Find a way to really tell your story directly into the camera. And it's fascinating how with Zoom, the opportunities that we have right now, I've got my notes on the screen in front of me and the camera on top. That means I can't see anything else that's going on in the screen. So there are certain, oops, and now I've clicked it away. So there are always lots of tricks that we can learn. And I think what I really gained from Melanie's speech was this aspect of constantly learning and going further, going the next step. In fact, both of the speeches today really showed us how we can benefit and continue going. You excelled at giving really, really good advice, at telling your story and motivating each one of us to expand our own perspective. I found it captivating when you started talking about your relationship with your husband. So the topic was about negotiation skills, growing from facing new challenges. And you talked about the 4 types of negotiation. And then you told us about the negotiation with your husband. So my tip would be to come to the point of your topic a little bit earlier. I think it was almost 3/4 of the way through your speech where you came to talk about your negotiation with your partner about the topic that you were planning on engaging in the future. So gestures, you've mentioned it yourself that with Italian background, you do the hand gestures, and that was always a part of it. Very, very good. Audience awareness, I felt like you were absolutely speaking to me. Comfort level, I always find you very, very at ease. This is why I say, you know, I hope it's not just unconscious bias. I just love your speeches, Melanie. I just love them. The topic was scintillating content and relevant for all of us. I thought it was excellently chosen because it affects each one of us. Working at the UN, is that all there is? Is there life after the UN? And what about personal relationships? These are the things that really fascinate me about your content. And I'm very grateful that you managed to bring those things together. They're the aspects that really make the speech very, very interesting and fascinating. All in all, great speech. Thank you, Melanie.
And thank you, Toastmaster Lily, for your animated evaluation, giving her all the things that she needed to hear. And next we move on to the report of the grammarian. So Ines, it's my great pleasure to ask you, how did we do with our use of the language today? And how often did we use the word of the day?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Overall use of the English language was really great. It was, for me, also very enriching to hear the different topics and issues related to Toastmasters, to negotiations, and applying what we actually learn in Toastmasters. Great. For me, the speeches, the 2 speeches had their own Pandora's boxes. And it's interesting that the word Pandora's box was used twice, once by Nicole and secondly by Lily. And I feel that in the table topics, we had a lot of new words, a lot of words which were related to the topic, which were actually unknown to some people or known. For example, the Michelin guides. I think it's good if in this particular setting, if a quick explanation could be given, what is the Michelin guide? Although I think some of us certainly know that. Langos, what is that? Is that something pickled? Is that something fried? It would be good when we are using these words or these names of different dishes in this particular context to give a quick explanation what it is. I think the use of the English language, as I said, was excellent, very enriching. And I also would like to give the grammarian crown to Toastmaster Nicole for her formulation, the art of guiding a group. Because these are not words, only words. This has very much to do with how you deal with people, how you interact, etc., in a particular setting, especially the settings which were mentioned by Toastmaster Nicole. And with that, I would like to hand over control of the meeting to Toastmaster Maria Teresa.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ines. The next report is going to be interesting because it's obvious to me we're not going to finish on time. According to my clock, it's 1 minute to 1:30. So, Toastmaster Rena, can you please give us your timers reports?
Yeah, fellow Toastmasters, can you hear me? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I will make it very short. Nicole's speech was 10 to 12 minutes and she spoke 11 minutes 24 seconds. Melanie 5 to 7 minutes and she spoke 7 minutes 17 seconds. Table topics, Silla 1 minute 14 seconds, Benjamin just 55 seconds, Alma 2 minutes 7 seconds, Nicole 1 minute 55 seconds, Joe 1 minute 14 seconds, Ines 2 minutes 20 seconds. The evaluation, Benjamin took 3 minutes 20 seconds and Lily 4 minutes 3 seconds. This ends my report.
Thank you, Toastmaster Rena. The next point on the agenda is to ask the counter. How many times did we and and numerous other unpleasantries in our speech? Toastmaster Alma, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I will also be short because we are very in a hurry to go get our lunch. Nicole had 3, so I counted us and I counted Nicole's table topics plus her speech. So in total 3. Very good, Nicole. Sila is the winner today, so 17 I counted. Lily 2, Melanie only 1. Julia 6, Benjamin 2. For myself, I didn't count, but I'm sure I had 5 or more. Joe 4, Ines only 1. And this concludes my report. Thank you. And I hand over the control to Maria Teresa.
Thank you, Toastmaster Alma. So, fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests, my time to give you some impressions of the meeting. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I thought this was such a high caliber meeting. The speeches were incredible. The table topics were thought-provoking and showed you what kind of diversity we have in this group. I love hearing people's experiences about their being out of their home countries. Toastmaster Julia, just a comment. You asked people who had major roles in the meeting, people like Silla or Nicole who gave a prepared speech. I would have preferred you ask people that didn't have a role, that they also had a chance to participate. People like Brigitte or people like Pinar, or even our person who is incognito as the piano, Toastmaster Alois. So maybe next time around, choose people who don't already have a major function in a Toastmaster meeting. Toastmaster Joe, you didn't have to accept the challenge, but I thought you mastered it very, very well. We started a little bit late. There was a little bit of confusion about roles not being filled at the last minute, but we were up to that particular challenge. I'd like to see us perhaps putting our function in the Toastmaster meeting in the section on Zoom. Ines, you did it with grammarian, Rena with timekeeper, but maybe this, Yulia, would make your job easier to see who is not taking a major function. Alois, I wish you would identify yourself as Alois. I know you for years, so I know who Aho is. But please, you don't have to show yourself, but just make yourself known to the group. Other than that, quite an interesting Toastmaster meeting today. We run the gamut from the prepared speeches, the table topics, and the evaluations. And with this, I will wait. Yeah, with this, I will not wait. I will ask Lily to announce the winner of our best table topic.
The best table topic today was very, very close. Nearly everybody got a vote, and the winner is Alma.
Bravo, Alma. Super. Congratulations.
Thank
with
you.
That,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, with that, I return control of the meeting to our Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Silla.
Thank you very much, Maria Teresa. And now I really need to watch out my ahs and ums, even though, you know, no one is counting, but I don't want to be the queen of the ahs and ums. I also really enjoyed the meeting, but I guess we should actually give the floor to Melanie and also all of us. I think in case, you know, there are any messages or that we want to say to Melanie, but personally, I just want to say first, thank you for, you know, making this happen, all the meetings to hold it. For the past year, I know that it has been challenging, also figuring it out, whether it is a hybrid, in person, online, offline. We also had, last time there was a gathering that was organized to meet all the members in person. We had lunch at that the restaurant opposite to the VIC. So I think all these, you know, interesting activities have been with us, you know, for the past years and help us to also improve our public speaking skills while also enjoying and having fun. I guess now I want to pass the floor to Melanie, but in case anyone wants to add more on this, I guess, you know, that's also your chance.
I'm not leaving the country yet. I didn't get a yet. Wait. Thank you, Sila, Toastmaster Sila, and our new president. You will be getting this beautiful pin that I got from the former president. It says Club President. And I'm going to hand it to you in person on July 4th when I work in the VIC. My presidency will end on Thursday, the 30th of June. And
Thursday.
Sila takes over, I said that Thursday. Sila takes over on July 1st, which is the Friday, but your first meeting will be in XCOM. I know some of you have to go, so I'll keep it very brief. Your new XCOM, Maria Teresa as your Vice President of Education. You have Ria is going to back her up as secondary. Inez is staying as Vice President of Membership. Our new Vice President of Public Relations is Benjamin. Nicole has become Secretary. Thank you, Nicole. Treasurer, thank goodness Brigitte is staying on, and she will give her report to the XCOM when they meet at the first Tuesday in July on the 5th, if that's possible. Sergeant of Arms, as always, our Rena. We can't do it without you. Easy Speak and Zoom support is Lily. And IT support, sometimes we have Aishan. So you have a full XCOM committee, which is wonderful. And before closing, I want to say that I had a great year. It gave me something to do. And I really tell you, it was not that challenging. It was an opportunity that I gladly took. Thank you for allowing me to be your president. And before we close for the day, Joe, as our guest, let us know what you think of the meeting. Will you be back?
Sorry, finding the mute button. Yeah, definitely. There's I like how it's organized. I wasn't sure how sort of formal or ceremonious it was going to be, but I think it was a really nice mix of the two. There's obviously a structure which I think is needed for something like this. And yeah, I see how it could be really beneficial. So if you would have me back, then I would love to come again.
Thank you so much. And the transition is always challenging when we're online, but when you come in person, you'll see the difference when people stand up and, well, if you shake the hand or give the elbow. So enjoy your afternoon, everyone. Enjoy your summer if we don't see you. And Sila will be taking over for you on the 12th of July in person. All the best, everyone. Have a great Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Silla,
Thank you.
can
Bye.
I have a brief conversation with you? Are you